You know what I love about Law and Order is that within 22 TV show minutes, they always manage to get a confession. I mean, these crimes that some of these people commit, they're pretty heinous crimes. In real life, it would take 22 years to get one of those confessions. But because, we got a half hour to get this show out there, they always get that confession. It's always in that interrogation room. You see some guy who looks like he's trying to hold off, and then Stabler leans in, and they're like, you saw a girl running in the park, and you thought, you know what, she kind of deserves it. That's what you thought, didn't you? You thought she deserved it, so you just kind of pulled her over to the bushes, and you thought she deserved it, didn't you? You know what? She did deserve it. She deserved it. And yeah, I did do it. And guess what? I would do it again. Do that sound. Well, guess what? I would do it again. I would take the Tampa Bay Lightning again. I would. If I was presented the same situations, a depleted team, the whole defensive core there, nothing to play for. The Lightning have everything to play for on their own home ice, where they've played well while they've been resting, waiting at home. Yeah, I'm going to do it again.
Can you at least let me see my cell phone for a few minutes? I just want to check my Instagram.
It's important to you, isn't it?
So you can curse all you want at the TV. Were you also cursing at Edmonton? Did you take Edmonton? Did they come through for you last night? They lost against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Did you bet on Florida? Did they come through for you last night? It's the NHL. I've told you there's so many, other than maybe soccer, where a team can park the bus. Upsets, massive upsets are normal, which is why I don't give out a ton of money. Like, you guys scream for raw dogs, and then when something like this happens, you start going crazy. Well, it was the right play, the wrong result. It happens in the NHL. But you know what they say, if you want me at my best, you got to deal with me at my worst. Well, that was my worst on the night. My best on the night was continued unders. As I told you, you repeatedly bet overs, you're a sucker. Suckers bet overs, the reals bet unders. And the unders came through, and as we go to playoffs, I'm just going to be dishing out unders on games with a lot of stuff on the line, especially as we get closer to the playoffs. And you will hardly ever hear that word over come out of my mouth again. So you guys go ahead, continue to take your overs. But from here on out, I'm going to bet some unders, and they're going to lose, but I will not stop taking them because there's a reason you found these videos. There's a reason these videos are number one every day, because for 3 straight years, in the aggregate, the Sniffs are true. And then that will take us to our Friday slate here. We can copy and paste Wednesday's video because there are 2 teams playing who are in very similar situations. The first, the Colorado Avalanche. I opened up the other day saying, we're seeing McKinnon 1.5 points plus money. And then you know what? Look who rides shotgun with him all the time. It's Rantanen. If McKinnon's going over 1.5, almost every single time Rantanen goes 1.5. And look at Rantanen's price. Well, we're not getting plus money for McKinnon, but we're getting close to even. And while he's trying to win this, Art Ross, an MVP, seems hell-bent on it. Man, how do I not take this at home? At home is where I love it. He obviously has registered points in every home game this season. And that building, the way they play there, it's the full blitzkrieg. And guess what? The blitzkrieg is getting reinforcements because they traded for Middlestat, and I believe Nichushkin's coming back in this game. But I really like that over 1.5 for McKinnon. And once again, you're getting pretty good plus money on Rantanen. Both of those guys, the over 1.5. And if you're thinking Lehkonen too for a point because he plays with them, I'm not 100% certain because Nichushkin has great chemistry for them as well. Nichushkin's good on the power play with them. We don't know how Lehkonen's going to be used. Maybe they'll he'll probably play on the line with them all game, and he'll probably remain on the top power play. I'm just not going to take any chances. But I do have somebody else for you. They traded away Bo Byram, who's a good offensive defenseman. I mean, I think he had 2 points in his first game as a Buffalo Sabre, which means that there's, I don't want to say slack, but there's a little more opportunity for Devon Toews to kind of influence the game and impact the game from an offensive perspective. Guess what? He's got a 5-game point streak going, and his point on their own home ice, where they score a ton of goals, is plus 120. So in addition to McKinnon and Rantanen, I really like Devon Toews. Plus 120 for over half of a point. I didn't see his shots on goal available. But last game, it was set at 1.5. If you see it set at 1.5 again, I also like that player prop as well. And this one, I think it qualifies for both teams to score 2+. These Colorado games tend to be, well, Minnesota can score. They did play last night. And yes, I like Colorado to win, but we have the props that we have. Adding Colorado to win isn't going to help much. It's not going to move the needle because you have two guys whose point props are over 1.5. Maybe if you want to add it to Taves because a singular point, adding Colorado money line might bring that up. But those are the picks that I like in that game. And then the other night, when the Stars were playing the Sharks, I said, everybody seems to score 5 up there in San Jose. The New York Islanders just scored 7 in San Jose last night. So now they're playing Anaheim, and I'm kind of rolling over the same philosophy. The only difference, last time I said, I'm taking all 3 of those line combinations. I'm cutting the second line until I see some production from Marchment and Duchesne. I'm not going to be taking them until I see some improvement because they've been extremely cold lately. Now, I call them the second line, but that's just a second line in name only. They're one of these teams who their third line can be a first line on a couple of teams in the NHL. And they erupted last game. They went absolutely crazy. I'll come back to that line in a second. First, I'm going to look at my 2 guys who I liked last game. It came down to overtime, but Hintz and Robertson, both of them for a point. Remember, top line, top power play. So there's heavy correlation there. If both of them get a point against the Anaheim Ducks, that's a plus money bet. How can you not like that? I really like that one, especially with Hintz getting a little offensive confidence, picking that corner in overtime. He's a good shooter, and if Robertson can find him a couple of times, I think they could connect. I think they also are a 2+ point line mate prop combo candidate. Wow, that's some alliteration. But now going back to line 3, which is line 3 in name only. Stankoven. It's a name that's, it kind of reminds me of Dejan Stankovic from Inter Milan, but he don't stank. I'll tell you that right now. I think he has 6 points, or is it 5 goals? Is it 6 goals? No. I think it's like 6 points in his first 5 games. This is the AHL's leading scorer. He was drafted in the same draft as Wyatt Johnston. Wyatt Johnston's now his line mate. They're tearing it up with old Jamie Benn cross-checking people and then getting points. Last game, that line absolutely destroyed it. They did tinker with the line a little bit, but in the third returned to those 3 on the same line, and they all had multiple points. It was a great game for all of them. And I'm seeing Stankoven at plus money for a point, and that don't stank for me. This guy who obviously is excited, he's confident, he's been on a roll, so I'm going to take him to register a point, and I don't mind any combo on that line. If you combine him, a Ben assist with a Stankoven point, or a Johnston point with a Stankoven point, when a line is hot, I don't mind any sort of combinations on that line. So I'm going to go with Robertson and Hintz, and then Stankoven on that third line. And if you want to combine him with any of the line mates, that's also fine. And kind of like for old time's sake, it always feels good like seeing a high school friend that you really liked. I'm going to take the under half of a point on Alex Killorn. The reason you found my videos probably at some point is because Alex Killorn started it. We bet against him to register a point in almost every game in the playoffs 2 years ago. This guy scored 0. I'm just going to always say this. They made the Stanley Cup final, and he scored 0 goals, and he didn't miss a game. They went 7 games against Toronto, then they swept the Panthers, then they went 6 games against the Rangers, and then they went 6 games against Colorado. He scored 0 goals. Do you know how hard that is? And he got power play time. Unbelievable. I will be taking the under half of a point for Alex Killorn because it's not just because of that. Because the line combos on this depleted Anaheim team, the no Terry, no Carlson, no McTavish, Zegras, I believe, if all of them are out once again, and they have the same line combos that they had last game, they put Killorn on one line, and then they put Strome and Vetrano on the other line. So if you're just floating Killorn on some dead line, I'm going to take the under half of a point. So if you want to take Stars to win with the under half of a point for Alex Killorn, that will definitely give you plus money. The price for Killorn not to register a point is pretty damn good. We know the Stars can play defense despite the disgraceful game that they had against the Sharks. That's what I like in that one. And if you want an under on a Friday night, because Friday nights I have this weird theory about drunk crowds and the weekend's about to come and goals are, I don't know, they tend to be scored more on Fridays. I'm still sticking with my, don't you know, bump it up under 6.5 in the Winnipeg Jets Seattle-Kraken game. They just played a couple nights ago, and we took the under 6.5, and we got cracked. I would think it was a 4-3 overtime, so they got us, but I'm coming back. I don't turn my backs on unders when you have two defensive teams who are actually missing players. Under 6.5 in that game right there, and that is what I have for you here on a Friday. I would do it. I would do it again. And I will do it again, just like I continue to make these videos every Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then you get 2 videos on a Friday. You got Picking Corners, which you guys should check out later. I'll talk about a couple things. Maybe it'll be like a trade deadline special. And then, obviously, I'll give a first glance at the weekend games. But if you want any of the weekend picks, after I get to go through the props, because I upload the post many times throughout the day with information, line combos, you can get that on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/AndyFrancess. Or you can just do it if you want to be a Green Bay Packers minority owner and say, you know what, I'm a part of this show. I chip in and I make this happen. And I always am appreciative of all you guys on there. So thank you so much for that. I will see you later for Picking Corners and then also on Monday for the next standard daily NHL video. Take it easy and good luck.